Honestly, there are tons of ways to rack up credits in Starfield, but what's the fastest way? Is it stacking weapon cases at Outposts to reap the endless rewards and tracking down vendors to sell the weapons to? Or maybe it's waiting on Venus to continuously stack weapons and other items in weapons racks or other displays in familiar stores or other secret locations. Or maybe it's a combination of a few different things to quickly grab your first million. Today we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of different ways to hustle a ton of credits in order to become a Starfield multimillionaire in the shortest amount of time, so you don't have to hit every little shop in Neon for a measly 60k or spend countless hours waiting on Venus. So let's get ready to dive down the rabbit hole to chase down the final answer, tell Sarah this is the way, and get after it. Our story begins on any planet you like with a pocket full of polymer and titanium to execute one of the more well-known methods to not only rack up some high-priced loot, but one of the best methods still after the patch to farm legendary weapons. For a decent assortment of weapons, we'll head over to the Serpentis system and just pick a random landing site. As you can see, all you need to do is drop an outpost beacon, enter the build mode, and stack as many weapon cases as you can, which only requires polymer and titanium. If you don't have any polymer or titanium, you can pick up a bunch of it at New Atlantis, at Jemison Mercantile, and at the UC Distribution Center in the Commercial District for pretty cheap. If you want to stock up, you can also wait 24 local hours to reset the vendor's inventory. After creating all the weapon cases that you can and exhausting all of your polymer and titanium, you'll need to save your game and then immediately load that save. Once you load back in, all of the weapon cases you created will be full of weapons and ammo, which is super handy if you just wanted to use this method for an unlimited supply of ammo. At this point, you can just delete the outpost beacon, or you can enter the build mode and delete the first case in the stack. Either one of these methods will transfer all of the weapons that are in the cases to your ship's cargo hold or your inventory if your ship's full. Once you're satisfied with the stockpile of hundreds of weapons, you can keep whatever legendaries you like and sell the rest at a series of vendors throughout the galaxy, which is a decent way to make a bunch of cash, although it's not the fastest. If you need a quick guide on the best vendors to sell items to, there's a link in the description just for you. If you're allergic to outposts or don't want to spend money to make money and like the idea of a little bit of thievery, another way to rack up weapons for your inventory to sell off for a bunch of creds and some legendaries here and there if you're lucky, is to head to any location in the game that has a fair amount of weapon racks, chests, or displays. As you can see from the game footage, you can execute this method pretty early on within UC Surplus, which is located in the Well District of New Atlantis. This process is pretty simple, and all you need to do is open all the displays and cases in the store to see if there's anything you're interested in, and if not, you can head over to Venus, which is located in the Sol system. Once on Venus, you'll need to rest or wait there for 6 hours local time, which equates to 600 hours universal time. This seems to be the magic number for the game to regenerate inventory within the crates and displays that you haven't quite emptied yet. Once your rest is complete, you can head back to those same displays and cases, and you'll notice something rather interesting, which is that the stock of items within each of the containers is increased just a bit. For example, if you hover over the helmet itself, it may only show one helmet, but when you look at the display case, you'll notice an increased list of items that you can choose from. This process can be repeated infinitely, and it's a great source of starting credits if you don't get caught cleaning out the store. Keep in mind that if you empty any of these cases or displays completely, that they'll remain that way, so make sure you leave at least one item behind. You can either use your stealthful ways to grab all the loot and go, or you can just use the social skill manipulation to send the shopkeeper out of the store for just a little bit. It's important to note that manipulation isn't permanent, and it doesn't last very long either, so you'll have a short window to grab all the stuff that you need before the shop owner returns to keep an eye on you in the store. While it's the cheapest method, since it doesn't require any resources, it's not really the fastest. Overall, it's a bit time consuming and doesn't provide any quick return like most of the methods that require you to rest on Venus. If stealth and thievery aren't really your thing and the theft part of this equation isn't working for you, you can perform this method anywhere you find a lot of cases and displays that are stocked full of gear. One area that fits this mold is Forward Base 441 on Ptolemy 2 in the Ptolemy system. You'll come across this forward operating base after following the UC Vanguard questline, where you'll need to deal with a few terramorphs. This area is chock full of weapon racks and cases for you to stack items in, and as part of this questline, you'll also come across some pretty sweet legendary armor, which is arguably one of the best looking armor sets in the game during your first playthrough. The process is exactly the same. Look through all the cases and displays to see if anything catches your eye, and if not, you can make a trip to Venus, rest for 6 hours, and then return to see the overall stockpiles increased. As money-making methods go, this method is technically infinite, and sure, you can make millions, but making back and forth trips to Venus to rest up takes quite a bit of time. And if you're running kid stuff as a starting trait, all that universal time sucks up quite a bit of credits and parental rent money. Not to mention, you still have to pawn all your loot at stores across the galaxy to vendors with a limited amount of credits. So while it does work, it's still not the shortest road to becoming a millionaire. For the next method, we'll head to Tau Ceti 4B to pull a little bit of vendor trickery to recoup a ton of credits to set up one of the fastest money-making schemes in the game. You can accomplish this on other planets as well, but for this example, on Tau Ceti 4B, 1 local hour is greater than 48 hours universal time, which is the standard reset time for most vendors. All you need to do here is pick a random landing site, and after you touch down, you'll need to search for a civilian outpost that not only contains a vendor that's indoors, but also allows you to view and modify your ships. There's a little bit of luck involved here, and hopefully you'll only have to land a few times to uncover one of these outposts. I know what you're all thinking here, another civilian outpost unlimited credit video, but stick with me because this is where it really gets good. You'll want to make sure that you exhaust the stock of 5,000 credits that the vendor's holding onto, which shouldn't be a problem if you followed one of the first methods in the video and have a ton of guns on you. Once you exhaust all the credits, open up the trader's shipbuilder menu, since once the trader's main credits are exhausted, any ship purchases that you make go into the vendor's main credit pool. For the next step, you'll need 2 junk ships in your fleet, and you'll need to whittle the main ship down to the raw basics so you can tack on a ton of 900T HE3 tanks. It's important to note that for the best landing gear in the game that'll support liftoff of this monstrosity, you'll need to unlock Starship Design Rank 2. And to place the 900T tanks, or even to get them to show up as an available option, you'll need Starship Design at Rank 4. If you run out of credits while placing the 900T tanks on your ship, you can just go back to the trader's normal shop, and as you can see from the game footage, all the credits that were spent on the 900T tanks have crossed over to the vendor's store menu. So now you can just sell off more of the weapons that you likely have in your inventory to regain all of your credits. You can rinse and repeat this process until your ship's maxed out on fuel tanks and you have all of your initially invested credits back. Even though the ship may look a little goofy with a big fat 0 in mobility, you're actually not going to fly this thing around. You just have to make sure that it's nominal and that it checks out. You can just leave the ship in your inventory and head out in something that handles a little bit better than an APC with flat tires. The next step is to head over to any ship merchant that has a fair amount of credits in their pocket and select the option to view and modify your ships. The trick here is to have a ship positioned directly after your helium ship in the shipbuilder menu, and in this specific example, the Crimson Fleet Ghost comes directly after my helium ship in the lineup. While looking at your helium ship, you'll need to press X and RB at the same time, and once the shipbuilder opens, it'll look like nothing's changed. However, all you'll need to do is modify the ship in any way you like, and for this example, I'll just change the color and then exit and save the ship. Once complete, and if you did it correctly, you'll notice that the ship has been duplicated and it's taken the place of the Crimson Fleet ship. And now that it's duplicated, you can enter the shipbuilder on the duplicated ship, of course, and delete all of the helium tanks, which essentially sells them back in order to drain all of the ship merchants' available credits. Run out of helium tanks? Not a problem, just redupe the ship and sell away. There are quite a few ship merchants to clean out across the settled systems like Deimos Star Yard, Strawn Deckland, Hope Tech, and many more. As methods to becoming a millionaire are concerned, this one is by far one of the fastest ways. Once you've cleaned them out, you can head over to Venus and rest 6 hours, which will reset all of the ship vendors in the game, and you can just rinse and repeat the process until you have your millions. Another surefire way to becoming a credit millionaire early on that doesn't require a whole lot of investment, and it's a bit more fun than fooling around in the shipbuilder, it's taking over enemy ships and selling them off for full market value. One of the best places to ensure you'll get ambushed in space is within the Serpentis system, where the chances of you running into Varun Zealots is pretty high, since you're almost guaranteed to have ships warp in to kill you within a minute of you arriving in orbit on any of the planets in the system. This isn't only a great way to make some serious credits, but it's also a great way to rack up XP if your ship combat's on point. It's as simple as disabling a ship, boarding it, taking out the crew, and flying it back to the nearest ship merchant. Keep in mind that to really rake in the big ships, you'll need the piloting skill maxed in order to fly them home. Once at the ship merchant of your choice, there's a bit of a trick to selling off your ship at full market value without having to register them, since registration sucks up a lot of the ship's value in registration fees. As you can see after taking a look at the vendor's ships and selecting the sell option, there's no way to actually sell the ship since it's unregistered. However, if you go back to the ship just before the unregistered one in the menu, you could just press A and RB at the exact same time, and it'll ask you if you want to sell the unregistered ship. By pressing the sell in advance button simultaneously, it tricks the game into thinking that the ship's registered. At this point, you're free to pirate ships and sell them at full price to make your first million. If you need to know how to disable and board ships, just click this video on screen now for a full guide. Stay safe out there, and as always, good hunting.